Oh my god, F1's back. F1 is back. We've had some racing. Hello, my name is Alex Does F1 Stuff, and today we are reviewing round number 1 in Austria. It actually feels so cool to have some results. It's been 4 months since any F1 stuff, since February. We haven't had any F1 stuff since testing, and even since then we haven't had any actual racing since all the way back in December. Oh, it's been so long. But anyway, today is a review. I am recording this on Friday currently. We've just had the very first 2 practice sessions. I will get into those later. So for those who haven't seen the previous F1 chat where I talked about going over the review format and how exactly I'm going to run it, I'm going to have 3 little recording sessions. One today on the Friday after practice 1 and practice 2, so you'll get my live reactions of what I think is going to happen before qualifying and the race. Then a recording on Saturday after practice 3 and qualifying, and then again giving my overviews and review before the race, and then one on Sunday after the race and talking about that and giving an overview of my thoughts and things. And then hopefully I'll stitch all of that together and the video should come out Monday or Tuesday. So without further ado, we will jump straight on in to the Austrian Grand Prix round number 1 of the 2020 season, the 71 lap 4.3 kilometer Austrian circuit, the Red Bull Ring. It's only got 10 corners. It's very quick, very quick lap time. We will move straight on in to practice. So off the bat we do have some news before I get into the results of practice. Red Bull have already challenged the legality of Mercedes' DAS system. They would like the FIA to clarify the rules and such regarding it. They said they would. With regards to them, it's not them getting in it is them getting in a stroppy hissy fit, but they did say in practice if Mercedes used DAS they would ask for clarification. So it's not a straight up complaint, but equally it's still just getting clarification like they did for Ferrari's engine last year. But now we will delve on into practice 1. Practice 1 happened early in the morning. I was at work. Currently, I've only just got back. It's 5 o'clock. I got back at 4:30, made all these PowerPoints and things, and here we are. Practice number 1. Mercedes are on top, 1 and 2, with Lewis Hamilton sporting a beautiful combination of a black silver arrow and also a black helmet as well. Thinking about it, I should have popped in a photo of it. I think he put it up on his Instagram, of just the black helmet, and it pairs so nicely with that car. But yes, we have Lewis Hamilton on top doing 42 laps. I think that was the most out of anyone in the practice 1 session, with Valtteri Bottas just 3 tenths behind, Max Verstappen trailing them by 6 tenths on 37 laps. Then come the McLarens of Sainz and Norris, with Perez actually splitting the 2 before we get to Albon in the other Red Bull in 7th. Then comes Ricciardo in the Renault in front of Magnussen and also Leclerc. Leclerc down in 10th place with Racing Point Stroll splitting the 2 Ferraris. The Ferraris in 10th and 12th. It doesn't feel right at all. But there we have a picture of Williams, Russell in their new cool looking livery. I much prefer it to their old toothpaste looking thing. They genuinely look like some toothpaste. But we have Ocon down in 13th place as a picture of Red Bull and an Alfa Romeo pop up there. That may actually be, I don't actually know if that's this year, you know. That may be last year's, I can't remember. We have the 2 Alfa Romeo pairs of Giovinazzi and Raikkonen in 14th and 15th, separated by just 5 thousandths of a second, but not doing a great deal of laps, just 24 and 28. Then comes Gasly in AlphaTauri down in 16th place on a 1 minute 6.404. Error not found. Funny joke. Then the 2 Williams, not on the back row. And then Kvyat and Grosjean, who actually had some issues. I've literally just watched the 3-minute practice 1 review, and they said he had some brake issues and he had to stop. That's why, hence, he only has done 6 laps. So it's looking very strong for Mercedes running in practice 1. Unfortunately, I don't know what tyres they set them on. I need to try and find a table which includes, because the F1 website doesn't. I need to try and find that out. At the moment, I don't have that information. But we will move on into practice number 2 now, and again, it is a Mercedes 1-2, just 2/10 between the two this time. Again, Hamilton doing 42 laps, Bottas doing just 37, but Perez is third, albeit 6/10 down on the reigning Formula 1 world champion. But Vettel has popped himself up into 4th place though, again just 16 thousandths behind Racing Point's Perez, with Ricciardo just 11 thousandths behind Vettel, all sort of doing roughly the same laps. Vettel and Perez 48 and Ricciardo 36. Norris is P6 as well. Honestly, all these pictures that are coming, you're going to think that I'm just a Mercedes Hamilton fan. I'm really not, but it looks so cool. Look at it. Look at it. Anyway, where did we get up to in the results? Norris is P6, Stroll is P7, with Verstappen down in 8th this time and Leclerc 9th. So we are seeing some sort of turns in pace for Ferrari here. Again, don't know what tyres they ran. Unfortunately, I can try and find out, hopefully. Maybe for my next review I can squidge that in, or maybe even practice 3 when I record tomorrow's segment. So Sainz in the McLaren is down in 10th place, as a McLaren pops up on a photo as well. They have a really nice looking livery. Now I really like the matte orange and the blue as well. Ocon is 11th with Kvyat in AlphaTauri P12. Albon though down in 13th place with Giovinazzi 14th. Then come the 2 Haas cars in 15th and 16th, as Gasly in the AlphaTauri as well is down in 17th, just ahead, 1/10 ahead of Russell, managing 40 laps in the Williams, with Raikkonen in 19th, ahead of Latifi. And there we go, there's practice 2, all done and dusted. What I would like to do in between today and tomorrow, I'm going to run through since 2014, go back in time, work out how many times Lewis Hamilton has led practice 1 and practice 2, and then has he gone on to win the race, has he gone on to get pole position. I feel that's going to be quite an interesting little statistic, so I'm going to potter away at that and wait for some more information. So you will see me next tomorrow. Well, I will speak again tomorrow about this. You will see me in just a little cut. Oh, there's some drama. It's currently 2 minutes past 6. I've just finished recording the practice 1 and practice 2 segment when this article came through. Red Bull have officially lodged a protest against the Mercedes DAS system. So they have been using it in practice 1 and practice 2. I think I mentioned in the review just before this that they were always going to, if Mercedes ever used it. It does say somewhere along here, because I have just pre-read the article, that they've launched a formal protest of the DAS system. Earlier, Christian Horner said they intended to seek clarification regarding the legality of it. I believe that's what I said just about an hour ago, roughly, when I recorded that. So the stewards, where did it say? After the first 2 practices, they said where they would... a decision will be made before FP3 at midday local time tomorrow. So we will know officially tomorrow whether DAS is legal. So James Allison is insisting that it is. The rules are pretty clear about what's permitted on steering systems, and we're pretty confident that it matches those requirements. I myself, from what I've read, when it came out in testing and what they've used of it so far today, it is definitely legal. Otherwise they wouldn't be running it today. But we shall see what happens midday Saturday. And also, just before I left, I said I was going to work out from 2014, from when Hamilton started dominating the sport, exactly how many times Hamilton has led practice 1 and practice 2 of a Grand Prix weekend, and then how many times he's gone on to either achieve pole position or he's gone on to achieve the race victory. So I have gone and worked that out. It's only taken me 25 minutes. Quite nice actually, a little bit quicker than I was expecting. So since 2014, Hamilton has achieved or led practice 1 and practice 2 28 times. since 2014. And if you think there's about 18-20 races in a season, that's just over a season's worth of Practice 1 and Practice 2s. So he has then achieved pole position of those 28 times leading Practice 1 and Practice 2 20 times, which is a percentage rate of 71%. After leading Practice 1 and Practice 2, there is a 71% chance that he is then going to go on and achieve pole position. Now the wins, slightly lower. I was about to work out of the wins that he didn't achieve of those 28 race weekends. Was it due to DNF? Was it due to something else happening? But he has won 16 times of those 28 that he has led Practice 1 and Practice 2, which is only a 57% chance of him winning the race, on top of leading Practice 1 and Practice 2. I also need to work out the combination of them, as there were occasions where he led Practice 1 and Practice 2, got pole position but failed to win the race, and vice versa. Led Practice 1 and Practice 2, he won the race but failed to achieve pole position. That's something that I'll slowly work out, and then also won all of them. So he's led Practice 1 and Practice 2, he's got pole position and won the race. That's happened a few times. But there we go, that's it for Friday's little review. A nice little interjection there with the news article. So I will see you tomorrow, after we will know who is starting on pole position for the Austrian Grand Prix. The Mercedes DAS system is ruled legal as the Red Bull protest is rejected. 13 hours ago, it is now Saturday. We have 10 minutes and 36 seconds until qualifying. We are about to go over the Practice 3 results. And here they are. It is once again a Mercedes 1-2 with Lewis Hamilton on top, 1.5 tenths clear from Valtteri Bottas, with Verstappen in P3. Then comes Perez, Leclerc, Albon and Vettel, all kind of nice and close together. However, the big news of Practice 3, Nicholas Latifi had an accident. He did crash, the first red flag of the season. Now the next couple of pictures come from the Formula 1 Twitter. The Haas picture came from Haas's Twitter as well. So as you can see, Nicholas Latifi did bump it into the barriers, knocked the front wing off, had a tiny dink on the rear with the barriers as well, but he was a-okay getting into the medical car, which is all nice to hear. So after Vettel, we have Stroll in P8, a really strong performance from the tracing point there. Gasly in the AlphaTauri in 9th, Norris in the McLaren as well, outpacing the two Renaults, who've had a kind of drop-off performance. I can't remember if they've actually gotten into the 1-minute 4s. I think they were yesterday, but I'm not quite sure what they did today. They only did 11 and 12 laps, Ocon and Ricciardo. I'm not quite sure what's happened with them there. Sainz is then P13 with Kvyat in the other AlphaTauri down in 14th, with Grosjean 15th, Russell in the other Williams. They're actually good. They're still in the bottom half of the field, yes, but they're no longer massively last anymore, which is really, really good to see. Magnussen is P17, then the two Alfa Romeos with Latifi, who only did 6 laps after his little crash. So one thing to point out just before qualifying starts in literally 10 minutes time, as I stated yesterday, I did a little bit of maths. I don't know, I've got my bit of paper here actually. I worked out how many times Hamilton since 2014 has led both Practice 1 and Practice 2, and then of those times has he gone on to get pole position and win the race. And as of yesterday, I found out that he has achieved pole position 20 times of the 28 that he has led both Practice 1 and Practice 2, and then he has gone on to win 16 of those 28 races as well. So that is a 71% pole chance and a 57% win chance. So I have gone back through those times and I have adjusted them a little bit for leading all 3 practice sessions since 2014. So he has led 12 practice sessions, all 3 practice sessions since 2014. He has had 8 poles of those 12 and 7 victories of those 12. So that is a 67% chance that in 10 minutes time we will see a Lewis Hamilton pole position, and on Sunday, tomorrow, there is a 58% chance that he will win the race. So if you're a betting man, get your bets in now. It's looking quite good for Lewis Hamilton. But obviously this is Formula 1, anything can happen, statistics don't mean a great deal. So I'm going to wait now until qualifying starts. I believe I've got another slide for qualifying, no fancy animations, just a quick little changeover. I will see you in probably about an hour and a bit's time after qualifying. Wowee, qualifying is all done and dusted. We officially know who is on pole position for the very first 2020 Formula 1 Grand Prix around Austria. We will start straight away with Q1. It has been 45 minutes since the end of the session, and we start with Williams. I'm going to start at the bottom simply because that's the order that my pictures turn up in, and Russell is a stellar P17. You say stellar, whether you want to call it stellar for being P17 or not, he is under a tenth of a second from getting into Q2. Something which I don't think they actually managed to do, Williams, in 2019. I think they were always out in Q1, so to see them that close to Q2 is definitely a good sign. Unfortunately though, Latifi, after his incident in FP3, they did manage to get his car all repaired and everything. I think it was more superficial and visual damages, but he is P20, half a second down on Kimi Räikkönen in the Alfa Romeo. And speaking of the Alfa Romeos, yeah, they've gone a bit backwards. Last season was a bit of a struggle as well. 2018 they did really well when they had Leclerc in the car, and they've sort of done what Williams did. They've come backwards, unfortunately, and they find themselves 18th and 19th. But just squeezing in by 700ths of a second was Romain Grosjean in the Haas, making it to P15, with Kevin Magnussen out in 16th place. Next up, I think, is a Renault. Daniel Ricciardo and Esteban Ocon are both making it through into Q2. Ricciardo 9th on a 1 minute 4.5 and Ocon 13th on a 1 minute 4.9. Next up though, we have the Ferraris, and here is a picture of Charles Leclerc. All these pictures are taken from Twitter, and unfortunately Ferrari didn't have a great deal of photos with their car in proper focus. There was always bits blurry with it. I don't know whether that's just its paint job or not, I'm not sure. But they were 5th and 6th. They had a good showing actually, only half a second off of Red Bull's Max Verstappen, who topped the session. I believe Valtteri Bottas is up next. Mercedes 2nd and 3rd this time, actually pipped by 87 hundredths of a second, which coincidentally is also the gap between Hamilton and Bottas as well. 2 lots of 87 hundredths. Not that that's particularly interesting, but at the top we do have Max Verstappen on a 1 minute 4.024. Hopefully, maybe, possibly he can continue this on into Q2. He did try. No, it wasn't this session. Next session. So moving into Q2 now, we start at the top this time with the Mercedes pair once again, where they belong, where they have been for the past 7 years of the sport. At the top, dominating the session, 7/10 clear of Alexander Albon in the Red Bull. I don't actually have a photo of Alexander Albon in the Red Bull, as I couldn't find a decent one on their Twitter. So here is a picture of Lando Norris, who is a mega P4 in front of both of the Racing Points. So I believe I have a photo of Lance Stroll performing well. Lance Stroll was only just under a tenth of a second behind Perez. Usually there's a much bigger difference between them. Also making it in the second McLaren of Carlos Sainz, and Verstappen found himself down in 8th place. He managed to get through though on the medium tyre. Everyone is currently on the soft, but Max Verstappen is on the mediums. He did go out again on the soft tyre as he was slowly slipping down the order, as Leclerc and Vettel definitely could have gone faster and put him at big risk of going through, but he did not go faster than the 1 minute 4 flat, so he will start the race on the mediums tomorrow. But next up is the Ferrari pair, and Vettel is out in Q2. Out in Q2, that hasn't happened for a long time. Seeing the performance of the Ferrari from last year and now this year, it hasn't gone well. Vettel did say in a post-qualifying interview after he was knocked out that they're more suited to race pace, so hopefully they can do well tomorrow. And finally, we haven't actually spoke about AlphaTauri just yet. In qualifying, they find themselves 12th and 13th in front of a Renault of Esteban Ocon, which is actually quite good, because the Renault has been sort of looking as a strong midfield team, not quite at the Racing Point standard, but definitely around McLaren and definitely in front of Haas as well. But for AlphaTauris to be in front of one of the Renaults, that is a good start to their weekend. But this is what we have all been waiting for over 4 months now. Q3, the first Q3 session of the year, and it is Valtteri Bottas who claims pole position ahead of a dominant Lewis Hamilton, who's dominated the weekend all the way up to Q3. Bottas takes pole position by just 0.12 seconds, and then there is a huge half a second back to Max Verstappen in third place, with Lando Norris in P4 for car number 4, P4, for the first race of the 2020 season, splitting the two Red Bulls, with Albon in 5th place. And speaking of Alex Albon, here is a photo as well. I think that's Albon. That may actually be Verstappen, actually. Looking at the helmet, oops, I thought that was Albon when I put that in. Anyway, P6 is Racing Point. Sergio Perez, not technically best of the rest, as Norris finds himself in P4, but definitely P6 for the Racing Point is a very solid running. Unfortunately, they only had videos of Q3 and I couldn't fit a video in here, so I've had to find a picture, and I don't know who it is. They didn't say, doesn't matter. But Leclerc is all the way down in 7th place. That Ferrari, he's a second off of the pace of Valtteri Bottas, which, considering Leclerc last year had the most pole positions out of anybody, is quite surprising. And finally, we have Stroll down in 9th place and Ricciardo in 10th. Not quite what I expected from Renault, if I'm being honest. I thought they would be a little bit better than that. One also interesting note to point out is Albon and Perez set the exact same time of 1 minute 3.868 to be just 0.929 seconds off of Valtteri Bottas in first. But as we take a look at the starting grid, I don't actually have a picture of it at all. There are no penalties so far to hand out, so everyone will be starting in the order that has gone on so far. But still, going back to my percentages that I've worked out, there is still, judging by the fact that Hamilton has led the 3 practice sessions, looking back at his previous races since 2014, there is still a 58% chance that he could win the race tomorrow, even starting P2. However, this is Formula 1, anything can happen. Verstappen is starting on the medium tyres, everyone else is starting on the soft, so already strategy is coming into play. I think Mercedes managed to get through Q1 on just one set of the soft tyres, so I think they've got some spares there. Everyone's got the same number of tyres, the same tyre allocations, so that's going to play less significant than the normal, but we shall definitely wait and see. So that is all I've got for you today for qualifying. Join me tomorrow after the race. It wouldn't be F1 without a bit of drama. Hamilton keeps his P2 spot on the grid following a yellow flag investigation. Breaking news of, oh no, I clicked a thing. I did click a thing. Back we go. Here we go. Okay, right, at the article. Let's try that again. Hamilton keeps P2 on the grid after yellow flag investigation 2 hours ago. Basically, Bottas went off. I am recording this late, 20 past 8 to be precise, after Channel 4's highlights, as I don't have Sky. Stupidly expensive. Anyway, I've just seen the qualifying highlights, and Bottas is off into the gravel, then Hamilton going past but still setting a faster lap time. So he was investigated after qualifying, but it has been found out that he did nothing wrong. It's due to a slight discrepancy somewhere. I have read this a little bit. So the pole, as I've already spoken about, was just 0.12 of a second. Hamilton was adamant that that he didn't see any yellow flags at all. And normally they would review the footage, so they did. He passed a green light panel at turn 5. The video footage confirmed that there have been both yellow and green light panels at the same time, and therefore conflicting signals were shown to the driver. Taking this into account, the stewards decide to take no further action, which yes, you can say that's all they could do. Whereas if it was clearly just one panel, the yellow panel just on its own, yes, Hamilton would be in the wrong because he still went quicker on his lap, and then obviously justified penalty, easy peasy. But because they were both yellow and green, it's a little bit more of a murky area. But saying that, it is looking extremely promising. I really don't know if I can show videos or not, but it's looking extremely promising for Mercedes, half a second clear from the rest of the field. But what can Racing Point do? What can McLaren do in the race? We will have to wait and see for tomorrow. Well, it would not be Formula 1 without any drama. So it is Sunday. It is currently 16:53. I've just got back from work. I've made my little tables and stuff, and I'm just about to record. I have not seen the race, but I have seen the race result. I will get back to you later tonight, probably 8, half 8, maybe 9 o'clock, something like that, once I have seen the race highlights on Channel 4. But the first thing that I saw early this morning, 3 hours ago, Hamilton handed a 3-place grid penalty for the Austrian Grand Prix after Red Bull protest again. A second Red Bull protest in 2 days? So they protested the decision that Lewis Hamilton failed to slow down. Oh no, I clicked a thing. Failed to slow down enough under the yellow flags. It was reviewed as people before the Red Bull protest. The FIA looked at the onboard footage of Hamilton's car and deemed that there were conflicting signals sent to the driver. However, Red Bull said no. And then the new video footage clearly shows that a yellow light panel was flashing on the left side of the track in turn 5. A green light panel was flashing at the end of a marshalling sector 9. Taking into account these factors, the stewards determined that the decision 33 will be reversed and the above mentioned penalty is being imposed. Fine, yeah, sure. If that's what's going to happen, then if Red Bull are going to keep protesting literally anything and everything they like, then fine. But without further ado, knowing this, we will now head on in to the race results. So it was Valtteri Bottas who enjoyed a victory from pole position from Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc on the podium in the Ferrari starting P7, and Lando Norris in third place for McLaren starting P4, beating Lewis Hamilton, the 6-time Formula 1 world champion, Brit on Brit, and Lando comes out on top. However, I have read briefly the Formula 1 article about the race. There was apparently a late safety car, I do not know what for, which caused all the grid to bunch up. Hamilton then bumped into Albon again. Albon later retired, he's down in P13. Hamilton gets a 5-second grid penalty, but with only 10-ish laps to go, he couldn't gain that much of an advantage, and I believe he crossed the line in P2, but the penalty dropped him down to 4th. But still a stellar result for McLaren, and I believe I've got some pictures of the Red Bull incident as my phone needs to shush. Okay, I'm really not sure what's going on. I turned my phone off and then my computer just went nuts, so everything's all a bit strange. So I've got some photos of the incident, the Hamilton and Albon incident. All of these photos are taken from Twitter and Formula 1's Twitter and the respective teams' Twitters as well. So there's Albon in the gravel with Hamilton just on the left there. Up next, I believe, is Valtteri Bottas, P1, qualified on pole position just after going wide a little bit, causing this bit of turmoil for Hamilton there during the weekend. He did it when it mattered. Hamilton led all 3 of the practice sessions, and according to my statistics, 67% chance of a Hamilton pole and 58% chance of a Lewis win. It was there for him, but when it mattered, Valtteri Bottas was there to do it. but it was also a stellar performance from Carlos Sainz as well. The McLarens really having a great race. Oh, and also to add to Norris's podium as well, he got the fastest lap. He got the bonus point as well, 16 points to his name. Up next, I think, is the Racing Point down in P6. Honestly, I think they are actually going to be a bit disheartened with that. To lose out to both McLarens, because Perez was in between both of them. He started P6, finished P6. Norris was the fourth and Sainz was behind him. And to have both McLarens and a Ferrari finish in front of them, especially on the podium, I think they're going to be a bit disheartened with that. But Gasly in the AlphaTauri though, having an incredible race. They had definitely an above average qualifying from what they were expecting, getting both cars into Q2, and then to get Gasly comfortably in the points as well. Really decent job there. But Vettel, again, I haven't seen the race yet. I don't know what happened to Vettel and how come Leclerc is up in second and Vettel's down in 10th. I don't know if there was an incident where the pit stops happened, but judging by the fact there was a late safety car at the end, which is why the grid is all bunched up, and the 8 retirements with the 6 non-classified cars as well, there could have been some other incidents and Vettel could have been caught up in one of those. I'm not too sure. But Nicholas Latifi on his debut finishing P11, just 7 seconds off of the points, but again, lots of retirements in front. He was still last of the front runners, but still an impressive debut after crashing in FP3. We then moved to Red Bull, and it fell apart, didn't it? It fell apart. 2 protests before the race even started, one for the DAS, one for Hamilton's penalty situation as well, and then Verstappen retires on lap 11. I'm not sure what for. I think it was mechanical. Maybe, I don't know whether he crashed or not, I don't know. Albon punted off by Hamilton. I believe he must have sustained damage from that. Moving further down the order, I think we've got Haas up next. We do indeed. Struggled looking at this. Lap 24 and lap 49 retirements. 2 separate reasons, I would imagine. Not the Grand Prix that they would have liked. Hopefully to have at least 1 car finish. Russell also retiring, not ideal at all. And lastly, we have Alfa Romeo. Giovinazzi scoring some points as Raikkonen retires up in 9th place. But again, topsy-turvy grid, topsy-turvy race. It may not be like that in 1 week's time. And lastly, we have Renault. I don't actually have a picture of any of them. I didn't think about pictures for Renault. Whoops. So Ocon was P8 on his return to Formula 1, with Ricciardo retiring in 19th place even. Again, not sure why. I will get back to you later once I have fully seen the race. So straight away, my review so far, pretty bonkers. It's one of those basically Austria last year, Germany last year kind types of races. Late safety cars, shuffling up the grid, penalty for Hamilton, bumping other people up again. But once again though, a penalty for Hamilton in the late stages of the race has caused McLaren to have a podium, which is cool. But we will have to see what happens in a week's time, because you'd have to say if Mercedes get it right and everything goes well for them, it will be a Mercedes 1-2, because I doubt teams are going to be able to outperform them and get in front of them in just a week. So look or expect another strong Mercedes performance in a week's time. But that is my review at 5 minutes or 2 minutes past 5. I am going to wait for the race to start on Channel 4 at 6:30. I'm going to watch that, then I'll get back to you, and then the review will be done. Well, it is 20:25 currently, 25 minutes past 8 in the evening. I have just finished watching the Channel 4 highlights of the race. So let's get into it. Just to recap, Bottas, Leclerc, Norris on the podium. Hamilton, Sainz, Perez, Gasly, Ocon, Giovinazzi, Vettel are your point scorers for the first round of the 2020 Formula 1 World Championship. But right now I'm just going to go over small little bits now that I have seen the race, seen some of the incidents, some of the controversies as well, and just have a little review before the review ends. So we start Valtteri Bottas dominating the weekend really when it really mattered, as I've said before, picking up exactly where Lewis should have been, where he's dominated the practice sessions and he just wasn't there when he needed to be. Kicked down to 5th on the grid just before the race started, which just isn't what you want at all, having to fight past all those other cars whilst Valtteri was easily able to just blitz away. He had some 10-second lead before the first safety car incident, and then Hamilton was P2 after Verstappen's retirement, which caused the safety car, and he was about 8 seconds behind Bottas. It's just not ideal whatsoever. But definitely a positive for McLaren. Such a strong showing from the team. The team that you thought it's exactly where Racing Point should be, or where you thought Racing Point would have been, not McLaren. You thought McLaren would have been in the top 10, definitely, or in the top 5, but you thought Racing Point would have been the team on the podium, and they are going to be mightily disappointed with just a 6th place. Looking at the race, they had 2 clear chances to pit Perez onto a better tyre off of the mediums, and they didn't. Operationally, they did not run very well. But the biggest surprise, I feel, was Ferrari. They actually pulled something out of it. They definitely lucked into it. Definitely. With the fact there were 8 retirements, loads of safety cars constantly bunching up the field. If it wasn't for those last 2 safety cars at least, definitely before not the Raikkonen one, it must have been the Grosjean one or the Russell one. I don't think there was one for Grosjean, but the Russell safety car, Mercedes were 10 plus seconds in front of everybody else with 30 laps to go. If there wasn't any other safety cars, they'd have just driven off into the distance. With their gearbox problems, yes, they had huge gearbox problems, which I doubt very much are going to be fixed for next weekend, so they need to stay off those curbs. But still, they dominated that weekend. If they both started on the front row of the grid and there weren't the last 2 safety cars, easily Mercedes race to lose. And I feel if that happens next weekend, in literally a week's time, we're going to see a repeat performance from Mercedes. They are going to dominate the weekend. Even with Verstappen, if Verstappen was there, I think I've got a picture of a Red Bull here, but I don't know how much Verstappen can do. Yes, Albon was good in the last half of the race, but that's because he was on the soft tyre. Mercedes were on the hard, on like 20-30 lap old hards, because they, again, didn't pit. They made a slight strategic error on their part, but yeah, I don't know how much Red Bull and Max Verstappen could do against Mercedes. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It's only a week. It's only a week to go. But of course, you cannot talk about this Austrian Grand Prix without the incident between Hamilton and Albon. What do I think? I don't think it was a racing incident, simply because of how far in front Albon is. Yes, you could say it was an impatient move from Albon. You know you're on the faster tyre, you know Hamilton's on the slower tyre. Wait 2 more laps and you've got DRS and it will be much easier. But you've got that whole, you're in those 2-3 laps time that you're waiting for the DRS, your tyres are going to go off and Hamilton's going to easily be able to defend. Hamilton clearly left some room. It's not like Hamilton is where Albon is and forcing him off the track. Hamilton left him the space, and Albon just had superior grip and then came back across him. So there are definitely arguments for both sides, and the 5-second penalty, harsh but fair. And I was always a bit confused of what actually happened to Vettel, and it turns out he spun again. He went for an extremely optimistic move on Carlos Sainz after Lando Norris, one of the McLarens, and it just didn't work. It was like Verstappen on Vettel in China 2018, just way too optimistic, way too far back. underestimated the turn-in and just went for a gap that didn't really exist, and he paid the price, pointed backwards. And like Mark Webber said on the Channel 4 commentary, that's why he's being dropped. That's why he wasn't offered another deal. If he keeps doing things like this, Ferrari are never going to be able to compete with Mercedes, who constantly have both cars within the top 5. And I think that is all. Honestly, I've started editing the review. It's going quite well so far. It's a little on the lengthy side as I haven't included the race segment, so it's probably going to be about half an hour-ish. But I've really enjoyed this. Really enjoyed this, and I cannot wait for next week. Just a week away. I mean, under a week, and we have practice again. But that is all I've got for you today, guys. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will catch you in the next video with whatever and whenever I decide to make it. I'll see you guys then.